Hi, this is Michelle at Ida Public Library. We would like to make a cardboard winter village this January and have it set up here at Ida. We would love for you to make cardboard buildings and bring them in to set up at the library, and we can decorate them with snow and lighting. You can make any kind of building you like: your house, your school, your church, a grocery store, or maybe even a barn. First, find some cardboard. I suggest tissue boxes or food boxes, mostly because they are common, but also because they are easy to work with. These are some of the boxes I'm going to use for my project. Next, I recommend using a primer on your cardboard building, especially if you're using bright, glossy, printed boxes like I am. You could just paint your box white, but that might not work if you want a light colored building. You can make an easy primer with white paint, school glue, and cornstarch or baby powder. As it isn't absolutely necessary to prime your cardboard building, you can skip ahead if you like. You could also just color your box with markers or even glue construction paper to the sides for color. To make a primer, pour about 1/4 cup of cornstarch into a container that you can ruin with paint and glue. If you are a kid doing this, maybe you could get an adult to help you with parts of it. Mix in 1 tablespoon of white paint. It will be quite dry. I used a plastic spoon as I didn't want to ruin a good spoon. This isn't exact science. You can estimate the amount. Now add 1 tablespoon of school glue and mix. Mix as well as you can. It will be very dry. Add 1 tablespoon of water and mix. I added a second tablespoon of water to make the primer more paintable. The more water you add, the thinner and easier to work with it will be, but then you might need to coat it more thickly. Paint your box with the glue mixture and let dry. A hairdryer could speed up the drying if needed. I could still see some of the color when I was finished, but the paint will stick well to the primer, so it should be okay. If you want to use a very light color, I suggest maybe another coat of primer. While the primer dries, let's make the roof. I measured and folded a piece of cardboard, but you could also use 2 pieces leaning against each other. I'm going to make paper shingles, so I do not need to prime the roof. If you want to paint the roof, you can prime this cardboard too. I laid the side of the open roof on paper to trace the angles of the walls that will make the attic. Now it's time to paint. I mixed a little black with my red paint to make it closer to a brick color. Paint the box and paint the sidewalls and roof if needed. Once it is dry, once again I use a dryer to speed things along, then measure out where you want your doors and windows to be located. Draw these boxes right over the paint. I'm going to cut out my windows with a craft knife. However, we can cut out your windows for you if you just want to make them with paint or paper. Kids, you definitely should not use a craft knife on your own. Adults, go ahead. I made window frames with paper by tracing the cutout window on paper. Then I cut out the glass panels, leaving just the muntins. Glue them on top of your window. Glue on a construction paper door as well. Both of these items can be made simply with paint, too. I glued a colorful bead onto the door to make a door handle, but once again, this could just be drawn or painted on as well. Go as simple or as fancy as you like. To make shingles for the roof, I cut strips of construction paper and then cut those strips into 2-inch long shingles. Set these aside until your roof is completed. We will be setting them up like this. Once the paint is dry, you can start gluing the attic walls and the roof onto your main house box. I use hot glue because it sets quickly, but you can use other glue as well. You might need to support the walls while the glue dries, however. So now my house looks like it has animal ears and it is ready for the roof. After gluing the shingles on and the roof onto the house, I added a long strip on the top of the roof as the ridge line to unify the roof. While the roof dries, I cut out some windows for the attic. I chose not to cut open these windows, but if you wanted to cut them open, you should do that before you glue the walls to your house. After your building is completed and all the glue and paint are dried, bring them to the library and we will light them up and decorate with snow. Be sure to include your name and phone number, email address so that we can contact you to pick up your cardboard building.